Alright, today I'm going to show you how to make a private server with multiple tiles that supports modding for Last Oasis. So, there's a few things that you're going to need. First and foremost will be a separate Steam account, aside from the one that you actually play Last Oasis on, that has a separate game copy of the game on it. If you don't have something like this already, you can go to a website like G2A and find keys for Last Oasis for as low as $14, or you can just buy it from the Steam marketplace. Once you have that, you're going to want to go to the Last Oasis dedicated server and install that. Now, you won't see this by default in Steam. You have to go here and check tools, and you'll see it'll be right next to Last Oasis. It'll say dedicated server. So you're just going to download this and install it. Alongside this, you're going to need a batch file to run your server, as well as you're going to need to sign into MyRealm and configure your server. So I've actually made a custom batch file for this. You'll see a description that will bring you to this drive, and you can just download it here. What this does is it lets you configure multiple tiles rather than doing it the way that they originally intended with the old tutorials. So we're going to go ahead and download this now. See, it's here. Now if I edit this, it'll pop this up, run anyway, and this will pop up the batch file. So there's a few things that we're going to need to configure for this. First would be the server name. You can call this whatever you want. By default, it's going to be custom Last Oasis server. Aside from that, there's going to be a base port. Default is 5911. We'll keep that the same. Then a query port. The default is 5961. We'll also keep that the same. And then there's a customer key, provider key, how many slots each server will have, and then a override connection address. This is going to be your IPv4 address. Outside of that, there's one more thing you have to modify, and that's going to be the number of servers. So you need one server per tile. So if you want your private server to have, say, 3 tiles, you would go ahead and put 3 here. For this case, I think we're going to do 4. And I'm going to walk you through the things you need to do to set this up, specifically where you get your customer key, provider key, and then we'll put in an IP address. So we'll leave this the same as custom Last Oasis server, for example. Now, we're going to go ahead and go to MyRealm. So you just go to myrealm.lastoasis.gg. It'll ask you to sign into Steam. Once you sign in, you'll see MyRealm. And when you manage MyRealm, you'll notice that there's nothing set up here. It's all empty. And that you need at least one game server, right? So the first thing we can do is go to hosting and then go to providers. This will provide you a customer key, and then you can add a provider key. So we'll go ahead and do that now. We'll add a key. We can name it dedicated server or custom server, whatever you want, it doesn't matter. And this will give you a key. So we'll go ahead and take these two and put them in where they're supposed to be in that batch file. So customer key should be here. Now your provider key, that will go here. And then your IPv4 address, if you look up like, what is my IP? You'll see something like this. What is my IP address.com? This will tell you what your IP is, and you can just use that. What's that here? And that's everything you need to set up. Like I said, you don't really need to change your base port or query port unless you're already hosting other servers or using those ports. For any additional servers besides your first one, it's just going to add one to these ports automatically, right? So if you do have anything on, like, say 5912 or 5913, you might want to change these, but I think most people won't have any problems with what these are set to. So once that's done, go ahead, make sure you put how many servers you want, and you can save this, okay? Once that's saved, once that's configured, we'll go ahead and go back to MyRealm and click on servers. This will show you any servers that are open. As you can see, there's nothing here. You can search, you won't see anything. We'll go ahead and go back to the last Oasis dedicated server, and we're gonna click launch. Now what this is going to do is it's going to open the file that you need to put that batch file into. So you see I already have one right here, but for the sake of this, I will go ahead and put the one we just modified in there as well. What I'll do is I'll rename it real quick. Just do something like that. I'll move it here. So if we go ahead and launch this, you'll see it opens up this command line, and what this is going to do is it's going to automatically start pulling up the servers and launching them, and it'll tell you what the ports that is putting them on. Once it's done all 4 servers, it's going to enter a monitoring mode, and what this is going to do is every few seconds check and see if these servers are still running. So if for some reason a server crashes, it'll automatically boot it up after, say, 30 seconds. Now, if you need to close your servers, the first thing you're going to want to do is close this and then close all these servers. You can just right click this and close all windows. But you need to do this one first, because if not, it'll detect the server's been closed here and try and reboot it. So we're just going to let these run and do their thing. I'll pull up one for now. It's going to run through everything it needs to do, and then it should show loaded maps empty once it's ready to get a tile. Alright, so here we are. You can see that it is now at game miss maps empty. That means it should be ready. It just needs to actually get a tile assigned to it. So if we go here and redo our search, you'll see now we have 4 servers. The name is automatically going to be whatever your name is plus a number. So custom last Oasis server 1 through 4. And you'll see that there's a pool here called general. That's the default pool for servers. What I recommend doing is making a pool for either each region or each tile if you want a specific server to run a specific tile. Basically all we have to do is click change pool here and we can create a new one, or if you already have one you can set it up to that. So we'll make a new one called like test server 1, for example. And what you'll see is now when we go make a tile, you can assign the pool of that tile to test server 1, and only this server will ever run that tile. So if you need to make sure that a specific tile runs first, this is a great way to do that, or to reserve tiles, for example. If not, if everything's on general, when a tile comes online, it'll pick whatever's available first. So sometimes server 3 will run your canyon tile, sometimes server 2 will. It's just kind of random. It shouldn't affect anything either way, but this is a good practice. Once this is all done, once you see all these as available, you can go ahead and start setting up tiles on your realm. So if we go back here and you click the little hexagon to go back to the main menu and click manage my realm, you'll see we don't have a realm yet, and we can create one now. We can now put in a name. So we can do this. It needs to be unique, but that is what people see when they join your server. Okay. So now that we've done that, you can see it's up here at the top of the tab, and it says that we have 0 Oasis created. So we can go ahead and create an Oasis or a tile. If we click manage, you'll see this little overlay. This is just a mock-up of the hexagon pattern on which you place your tiles. We'll go ahead and just place one, say here. We can name it, or if we leave it blank, it'll auto-generate a random one, like they do in official. And let's say we want a cradle, because when you start originally, you need to have a cradle for people to join. We will not name it anything. It will be full PvP mode, and the quality will be 0, which is just base quality. We'll go ahead and add that tile. You'll see it here, start gray. We click on details. Now you can see some additional settings here. So we can activate it. We can change the pool here. So if we want this to be on, say, server 1, we can force it on that by changing the pool. There's also additional settings that we'll get to later on what those do. One thing to note, because we're doing multiple Oasises, what we'll do here is we'll change the hosting configuration from simple to advanced. This just allows us to do multiple servers instead of a single tile. So now that we're in multiple Oasis mode, you can also see here that we can change the automation to activate and deactivate at specific times if we want to do that. This allows you to do stuff like, say, event maps, for example. You can go in here, plan one for, say, tomorrow at a time, then have it automatically close, say, tomorrow a few hours later. Or you can just go ahead and activate it. Once you have your pool set, you can just go ahead and activate it. And once that's happening, if you go back to your dashboard, you'll see it's activating, and as you refresh, the status will change. If we go back to server 1, you'll notice after a few seconds, this will start doing stuff as now it has a tile that it needs to become. And there it is now. So it's checking for mods. It sees that there are mods previously installed. It's going to get rid of them for this. And then you notice that it went away. That's normal. Because it has to clear the mods, it has to shut down the server. Fortunately, this will go ahead and check that automatically. It sees that server 1 is offline, and it's going to automatically restart it for you. Now, as this is coming online, I'll go ahead and go through some of the settings that you can do to your servers and kind of what they are. So if we go to general, this is where you set, say, descriptions. You can change the name if you want. You can go and choose what region this is hosted in. This affects nothing besides just information for users when joining, so they know what region the realm's hosted in. You can also change a message of the day and description. Outside of that, if you go to gameplay, this is going to have your overall system settings that you can modify. So one thing I encourage you to modify immediately is traveling mode. Change that from portals to classic off-map lobby, as this is what we'll be using from now on. Portals was a Season 5 feature that's no longer supported. Outside of that, you can change max clan size, as well as the cooldown between changing clans, as well as change like your default experience, foliage respawn, and harvest quantity multipliers. They'll be aware that this affects every single tile, not just one specific Oasis. If you wanted to change it per Oasis, you can do that. You just need to actually go into the realm settings underneath it here in the additional settings. And I can kind of show you how you would go ahead and do that. In this folder as well, in the description, you'll see a private server additional settings sheet. Now this has every single additional setting you can put in that section and kind of what it does. Some things you should not change or mess with at all. Some things you can. I'll add to this as I find more. Some of these are pretty obvious what they do. Some of them are not. I'll add more descriptions to these as I get the time. One of the more important ones is going to be mods equals. So this is where you put your mod IDs into. So if you want a modded realm, you can do that. All you need to do is under your gameplay settings, under additional settings, you're going to put mods equals and then the IDs of your mods. How you find the IDs of your mods, there's two ways. You can just go to the Steam Community Workshop. We go here. Actually, we'll go under the last Oasis game. Go to Workshop. Here you'll see some of the most popular mods, most subscribed mods, most recent mods, and you can kind of go through and figure out what you want. Not all of them will work. Some of them are old and haven't been updated. The best way to tell whether or not they're up to date and working is if you click on a mod, you can go to change notes, and above that you'll see the last time it was updated. So this was last updated March 7th at 12:22 p.m. So, you know, it's been about a month, but it's relatively new. And you can actually see the frequency in which this stuff's updated here in the changelogs. So, if you want to, say, have admin menu added to your last Oasis server, you'll see in the link up here, it says mod ID equals and then this number. If we go ahead and just use that, get rid of everything besides that mod ID equals, that's what you need there. So that would install this mod to your server. If you want to add multiple, you just put a comma with no space between the two. So it would look something like this. If you had a bunch of different mods, obviously not the same one. If you don't want to do it this way, I do as well have in here this mod kit folder I use. And what this is kind of a list of some of the more frequent mods along with their associated IDs. And if you make a copy of this for yourself, you can then modify it. All you do is you put your mod IDs in here without the mods equal, and it will give you a list of the mod names in your server, the IDs, and then a link to the Steam URLs. So this is what I use to kind of help make it easier to add mods, but don't have to use this at all. So now that you know how to add mods, what we'll go ahead and do is try and join this server. We will join it without any mods, and then I will maybe change a few settings and restart the server and try joining it. We also might try and add a few more Oasises since we have different servers set up anyway. Now, if we go to join realm and look for the one that we made in here, you will see it here under NA East, testing server tutorial. We can join it, join a random Oasis. This will act completely normal. It's letting you join, it's letting you create a character. You can go ahead and set up a character however you like. And join. You'll see this if you previously played on a modded client. Just go ahead and quit the game. Give this a second to stop running and go ahead and relaunch it. Alright, you'll see that spawned in. You can just spawn in the desert, and now here you are in the private server. If we go ahead and alt tab,
follow the wind, nomad,
back into the dedicated server and go to, say, players, you'll see my players here. I can promote them to an admin, rename their character's name, or ban them. You cannot remove a character's data. So if someone wants to be wiped back to level 1, that's not a possibility. You cannot do that. But you can add them as an admin through here or ban them. Additionally, if you want to add an admin who hasn't joined yet, you can just add them here by getting their Steam ID or Xbox gamer tag. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and add another tile to here. And see it boot up in real time in the game. So what I'll do is I'll add a tile here. We'll go ahead and make it, say, a canyon. Let that be whatever it is, but we'll go ahead and make it a legendary quality. Now, again, you need to go here to your details. We'll keep the pool in general, and we'll go ahead and activate it. And it's going to start activating now. See, it says no game server available for hosting, but that should change. We just reload it. There it is. So it's active. It's found a server. It's found server 2. So if we go here, we'll see server 2. In just a second, we'll start actually doing stuff as it grabs the canyon. And you can see this one also auto shut off because it checked for mods and found that there's mod folders that need to be cleared. But this will go ahead and do another check within about 30 seconds and realize it's offline, and will automatically restart it for you. If you do need to restart a specific tile, you can always close it that same way. Just by going to it. Let's say we'll do server 4, for example, because it's not being used. If I need to restart it, I can just exit server 4. And this will, after a few seconds, figure out that server 4 is not running and go ahead and restart it for you. So now this is done loading. Found map's empty because it already knows there's a server it needs to find. It should go ahead and connect to it. Server 4 is just restarted. That's what that is. Server 2 is now loading the canyons. And it's registering mobs. That means it is loaded up and it's starting to spawn in all the mobs for the world. So around this time, once you start seeing mobs registered, you should see this will turn to active, and this should switch from available to hosting, like that. So now if we minimize this and go back into the game, we open our world map. Not seeing anything yet, but after a few seconds it should propagate. There it is. And now we should be able to actually just join this time. So we respawn. We will respawn to off-map lobby. Select this Oasis. Now it's changing tile. And here we are.
The path around the world is narrow. Our ancestors left stones to guide us. The songs we sing reveal.
Alright. So, hopefully now you know how to set up a private server. We'll go through a few things that you might need to know in case you have any issues. First and foremost, if you try to join the server and for some reason it's not letting you connect, that's more than likely a firewall issue. So I'll go ahead and show you how to add Last Oasis, a dedicated server, to your firewall as an exemption. On top of that, you may need to go and enable port forwarding on your router if you're doing this at home. There's tons of tutorials on how to do that specific to your router. I'll add a link to the description on some helpful tips on how to do that, but I won't be covering that in this tutorial. But for the firewall, all you need to do is go in here and go to Windows Defender Firewall. Go ahead and open this. All you need to do is go to Advanced Settings. This will pop this up. And what we're going to do is go to Inbound Rules and add 2 new rules. So we click on New Rule. You're going to have it be Program. And then browse the path. You're going to want to go to the path that your dedicated server folder is in. So by default, it should be Program Files x86, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Last Oasis Dedicated Server, Mist, Binaries, and then Windows 64. And it's going to be Mist Server, Windows 64 shipping.exe. Go ahead and open that, go to Next, allow the connection. and keep all these enabled, go ahead and name it something like Last Oasis server. Just something so when you see it in your inbound rules, you know what it is. And click finish. Once you've done that, you're going to want to add one additional new rule. Same thing with program, except when you browse it, instead of going all the way to Win64, you're going to go back to Last Oasis dedicated server and do the same for missserver.exe. Allow the connection, keep everything checked, and name it. Same thing, just Last Oasis server 2, something like that. And that should fix your connection issues if you have port forwarding set up right. This firewall does need to be looked at. Okay, the last thing I'm going to cover here is how to properly remove a tile. Now, you have to make sure that you have your server still running when you remove a tile. If you don't have the server running, it won't let you remove it. I can actually show this, for example. So if we go ahead and exit this, and then close all the windows here, reload it after a few seconds, and you'll notice that these will go down. Okay, as you'll see here, they finally updated, and it says no game server available for hosting. Now what you'll notice, if you want to deactivate this while the servers are down, it'll say deactivating, but deactivation requires a free game server available for hosting. So it'll be stuck like this forever unless you give it another server under that pool. So to truly get rid of it, you have to have servers available. So if we go back to our library, go to dedicated server, click launch, it'll open the folder, and go ahead and launch your batch file again. Let it boot up all the servers. Then it will connect again and actually go ahead and deactivate that tile. Alright, you'll see that now this is saying deactivating, and that Last Oasis server 2 is now loading so that it can start actually deactivating this. Once it's done that, after a few minutes, it'll actually go ahead and fully deactivate the server, and you'll see it as inactive in your tile list. If you want, you can then delete that tile entirely. So here it is. If you want, you can delete it, and it'll be gone forever. Now, one thing a lot of players forget about is you'll see all these settings here, but this is different than going back to your realm settings. If you go back to manage MyRealm and it says your name, you'll see your realms here, and then you'll actually have like servers that you can look at with their pools, the provider stuff, your users, which these are people that can actually log in here and add and remove tiles for you, as well as API. So you can actually generate keys and do some API calls with this as well. So if you ever want to go back to here where you can see your server list, you need to go ahead and click on the hexagon. There's no way to get back from here. This will just keep bringing you back to this realm settings. If you click back here and then manage MyRealm, you'll get to this. But yeah, I think that's it. If you have any additional questions, let me know. Take care.